Yeah, hi there, and I am Michael Buckoff, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-Step System to Pass a TOEFL IBT. And welcome everybody at YouTube. Wow, it is December 31st, 2016, the very last day before we get into 2017, the new year. And today's pretty simple. I asked yesterday if you guys would post some questions, anything that you'd like to know about TOEFL preparation or about anything about my online TOEFL course. So I did get one specific question, and that's what I want to answer in this video right away. Okay, so let's look at that one first. That's the main thing I want to take a look at. So somebody wanted to know how to use my online TOEFL course to improve reading, and this person is already one of my online TOEFL course students. So that's what I want to focus on in the first part of this video, is how to improve reading comprehension using my online TOEFL course. Now, anybody who knows me at YouTube, they will know that I'm really big on what's called improving one's overall academic English proficiency. I'm not big on just tips and tricks and strategies to get a high TOEFL score. I'm interested in helping students improve their English skills for the long term. Of course, it will help them get a high TOEFL score, but most importantly, they will have good, strong English abilities for the rest of their life, right? So everybody knows, who knows me knows that, right? Okay, so first of all, I'm going to go over to my online TOEFL course right now. Let's take a look at it for a minute, so give me a quick second. So I'm going to go into screen capture mode here. And here it is. Here is my legendary, the 7-Step System to Pass the TOEFL IBT. Tens of thousands and thousands and thousands of students have used my online TOEFL course to get better. Okay, so first of all, there are 3 specific areas, or at least 2 areas in my online TOEFL course that are very important for reading. Okay, first of all, vocabulary. This is the first thing. So obviously, in order to improve your reading, you need to improve your vocabulary. And vocabulary lesson number 3, this one's very, very important. And even really lesson number 1 and 2 here, they focus on vocabulary guessing strategies, which is important for the reading section of the test. And then you have vocabulary and IBT passages here. And then you have my ebook. So I think lessons number 1, 2, and 3 are very important for reading. And in lesson 3, you will have access to a 150-page ebook, and you will learn 200 basic TOEFL words. You'll have reading passages, listening passages, you'll have grammar practice exercises, matching practice exercises. My first recommendation is to go through those specific lessons and learn those words. The next thing is vocabulary lesson number 4, and then number 5 and number 6. So what you want to do here is to learn the words in each of these lessons. So vocabulary lesson number 4 introduces you to 500 TOEFL words, A through E. Lesson number 5 introduces you to 500 additional words, E through P. And then vocabulary lesson 6 introduces you to vocabulary words, P through Z. So the main thing is, make sure you go through those lessons and learn those words. I even recommend download the audio files to all these vocabulary words. You can put the audio files on your phone, your iPad, or your personal computer, and start playing the audio files. Get used to how these words are pronounced. Get more familiar with them. Now here's a key. One of the reasons my course is so successful is these words that you study in 3, 4, 5, and 6, you will see these vocabulary words recycled through all the areas of my course, specifically the pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, listening, reading, writing, and speaking areas. So if you study the words in my step number 1, the first part of my course, and then you keep going through the other lessons and the other sections of my course, you will continue to see these words as you study, thereby reinforcing your knowledge of those vocabulary words. So you want to make sure you go through those recommended lessons. Once you feel that you've mastered these words, then you can start taking the quizzes and see how you do there. All right, that's the first way you can improve your reading by using my online course. Now, the next thing you want to do, this is very important. Obviously, you want to go to the reading section of my course. And let's take a look at that. See what we have. See if I can make this a little bit bigger. So as you go through the reading section of my course, you'll notice there are specific areas of my course designed to help you improve reading. Obviously, lesson 1, you want to take a look at that. Lesson number 2, this one's important. You will have several different videos giving you the strategies for answering vocabulary, pronoun referent, and paraphrase question types. Remember that it's important to understand the different kinds of TOEFL reading question types and strategies for answering those questions. Lesson number 3 introduces you to additional vocabulary and reading strategies. Insert sentence detail, negative detail, and implied detail question type questions. And then you have lesson 4, infer rhetorical purpose, summary chart, and schematic table questions. So you should go through lesson number 2, 3, and 4 so that you have the strategies for answering all of the different reading questions on the TOEFL exam. So that's very, very important. Now, you'll see other lessons in here too that help you with reading. Now, the next thing is, in lesson 16, I introduce you to speed reading. And you should also be using my course to improve your reading speed. So you'll notice I have 70 different reading practice tests. They start at 100 words per minute, and they go all the way to 350 words per minute. So what are you doing here? In these cases, you're taking about 60 seconds to read the passage. After you've read that passage, without looking at the reading passage again, you answer 5 to 6 comprehension questions. If you get 60% or higher on those quizzes, that's telling you that that's your reading speed. So you should be concentrating on improving your reading speed from 100 words per minute to 350 words per minute. And you'll notice that all of these topics, they focus on academic topics. One focuses on, for example, anorexia nervosa. Another focuses on science and technology. Another focuses on dams, discovering the new world, and so on. So they're all academic topics designed to get you used to academic type reading passages, and it will help you to improve your reading speed. Right? So that's important too. Now, the last suggestion that I will say in regards to this question, if you go to, it's called full-length TOEFL IBT and section-specific practice test, you should also, at some point, you need to check your comprehension to make sure you understand how much or how well you're doing on TOEFL level reading practice tests. Now, my website does not offer TOEFL level practice tests, so I have a link to another website. This website, you can do 2 things here. It's called scorenexus.com. At this particular website, you can take a full-length IBT practice test, which means that you can take a 5-hour TOEFL test, and then you can get an overall score and subtotal scores in the reading, listening, speaking, and writing. You can do that. Now, you can also take section-specific practice tests. So if you want to take a TOEFL level reading practice test, you can certainly go to this website and do that, or you can use your TOEFL book. If you have a TOEFL book, you can certainly use that one to do your reading practice, or at least reading what we call taking the practice test type of practice there. All right, so overall, let me take a look over here for just a quick minute. Give me a second. I'm going to just recap what I said in this part of the video here. Okay, let's do this. So I'm going to go here for a minute. Now we're over it. I'm going to just recap what I said here. So the question is, how that was a question, right? So using my online TOEFL course to improve reading proficiency. So let's just recap, and there's really 5 things. If you can do these 5 things, I guarantee you, you will improve your reading proficiency, and you won't need to spend thousands of dollars in an intensive English program to do it, right? So first of all, read daily for about 45 minutes. So read daily for about 45 minutes. Number 2, improve your vocabulary. Number 3, increase your reading speed. Remember, reading speed becomes very important for the TOEFL because you have the reading section of the exam. Obviously, you have at least 4 or 5 different reading passages. Each passage is about 800 words, so you definitely want to make sure you can read quickly through that information, and the faster you can read, the more time you have to answer questions. But also during the speaking section of the exam, you have reading, listening, speaking, you have academic and campus-related type passages, so you have to do well there. And even during the writing section, during the integrated writing task, you have to read and listen and then write. So again, you need to be very, very, you need to have very, very adequate reading speed there. The next one is become more familiar with reading question types and their accompanying strategies. And then 5, complete TOEFL level reading practice test. So you can measure your comprehension. You can see how you're doing. Now, what's most important here, believe it or not, and a lot of people will disagree with me on this, steps 4 and 5 are not the most important thing here for improving your reading. In fact, I recommend if you do reading practice, 80% of your time should be spent doing steps 1 through 3. That's what you need to be spending more time on, really. Let's be honest. You should be reading every day, magazines, newspapers, and books. Also improving your vocabulary and increasing your reading speed. That's where you focus the most, right? That's where you're going to get your best results. And then you can have maybe 20% of your time you're focusing on steps 4 through 5. So remember that my website helps you with vocabulary tremendously. I have a specifically designed section to help you increase your reading speed. Obviously, on my website, you can become more familiar with the reading question types, as I pointed out, and their accompanying strategies. However, my online TOEFL course will not help you with the TOEFL level reading practice test. You will need to use either a TOEFL book, right, or you can go directly to ETS and buy one of their books. Or you can go to the website that I showed you in the video, Score Nexus, and you can purchase one of their TOEFL level reading practice tests so you can monitor your progress as you are doing your reading study. And that's it. So that's my answer to the first question of the day, is how my online TOEFL course will help you to improve your reading proficiency. So after you complete my online TOEFL course, you will have a vocabulary of about 2,000 TOEFL words. You'll have a reading speed of 350 words a minute, and you will be much more familiar with the TOEFL reading question types and strategies for answering them. And that's it. All right, so let's move on. Let me go back to video here. And I'll double check here. I'm going to start getting into my email right now. All right, so Happy New Year to you too, Shrikant. I see your message. I need your blessings of TOEFL success for the new year 2017. I give you all of my blessings, and remember that the only way that you're going to get a high score, Shrikant, is to practice. Practice, practice, and practice. In your case, because you have a lot of language use issues, you will need to practice probably 3 or 4 months, I think, before you will be where you need to be. So be patient, keep following my study guides, keep following my plans. All right, you say, undoubtedly your course is helping to improve in all areas. I'm easily eliminating wrong answer choices and getting correct on reading and listening. Great, Professor. Good job for you. Remember that you should be using a TOEFL book in addition to using my online course, especially as you're doing the reading practice. So make sure you're doing that also. All right, I think that's it. Now let me move on. I'm going to go into my email now and let's see what's going on. And give me a quick second here. I am going to get some water for just a minute here, so hold on a second. I'll be right back. Be 1 minute. Okay, here we go. Now let's move on. I'm getting into my email right now. Let's see what's going on. So it looks like it's pretty quiet. Not a lot of things going on, but one of my students, Khalid, he just completed integrated speaking practice test number 1. And he says, I attach below my answer to integrated speaking task number 1. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And Khalid, I'm saying to you, Merry Christmas to you, and also have a Happy New Year 2017. Whatever your goals are, whatever you're wishing for, I hope that your dreams will come true. But remember, things don't happen by accident or by coincidence or by luck. The reason a lot of people have good fortune is because they've earned it. And that specifically applies for the TOEFL IBT exam. So if you want a great score for 2017, then you have to practice and do the work day by day, and you will get that goal. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at your practice test now. Give me a quick second here. I want to get the rubrics ready so I can listen to it. Okay, here we go. Let me go ahead and download it now. So this is the very first speaking practice test for Khalid.
Both the article and notes.
Okay, now I'm going to get my audio ready so I can talk to him. Yeah, hi there, Khalid, and this is Michael. So in this particular voice recording, I'm going to listen to your integrated speaking practice test number 1. All right, good luck to you and Happy New Year to you.
Both the article and male student agree that advertising has a great influence on people behaviors. The example given by the article was the politician had to show themselves on TV so that they can gain people's confidence and win the election. Meanwhile, the student or the male takes another example. He says that consumers unconsciously decided to choose a toothpaste brand just because they have seen this brand on commercials. So both the article and the male agrees that advertising has a great influence on people's behavior.
Not bad. Wow, you have a really incredible natural sounding tone, Khalid. You have done a really wonderful job on your pronunciation, so I really like your delivery, right? So let's listen to this one more time and let's break it up. I want to listen first to your introduction, then let's see how you move to your first support point, and then how you move to the second support point.
Both the article and male student agree that advertising has a great influence on people's behaviors. The example given by the article was the politician had to show themselves.
Now, what I would say in the beginning is, I would say the reading and the listening passage explain the political and the economic effects of advertising on people's behavior. Say something like that. So you're stating exactly what the main point is. Then when you move to your first support point, you say, first of all, the reading passage claims that advertising can affect people's behavior politically. And then you give an example to support that, right? What you're doing is you're kind of going directly to the example without giving the support sentence first. So start with your generalization, then move to your more specific idea after that.
On TV so that they can gain people's confidence and win the election. Meanwhile, the students or the male takes another example.
I would probably say instead of meanwhile, maybe in addition. The listening passage explains the economic effects of advertising on people's behaviors. Maybe say that.
He says that consumers unconsciously decided to choose a toothpaste brand just because they have seen this brand on commercials. So both the article and the male agrees that advertising.
You can probably develop, I think, the listening. You need to develop that a little bit more than what you're doing.
A great influence on people's behavior.
Okay, now, you guys watching at YouTube here, this is really good delivery. This is an example of exactly how natural you want to be during the speaking section. All right, Khalid, I'm talking to you and I'm also talking to my YouTubers here, so I apologize. I don't want to confuse you here, but all right, let's go over to the rubrics. I want to give you a score here. Okay, let's see how we're doing here. So I'm looking at the rubrics right now. So delivery, wow, you speak very clearly with fluid expression of ideas. Wow, you don't really have any problems at all with your delivery. So I don't know what you've been doing before I met you, but your delivery is incredibly clear. So keep that exactly the way you're doing. Language use, I think overall you had pretty good control of your language use, although maybe some of the vocabulary that you're using can be a little bit more specific. Topic development, I think this is where you're not in the 4 area. So your response has some incompleteness, inaccuracy, lack of details in relation to the content. So I think you could have done a little bit better job there. And also, as I said earlier, you can probably do better in the beginning. State the main point. The reading and the listening passage discuss the political and the economic effects of advertising. Then say, first of all, according to the reading passage, the advertising has political effects, blah, 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 blah. Say, second of all, according to the lecture, advertising affects people's behavior economically, blah, 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 then you're done. So I think you could have done a little bit better job with topic development, right? So what is it? How will you score here? Still, I have to acknowledge that you did many, many good things here. I think some problems with topic development, and that's why I'm going to put you a little bit below 26. I'm going to put you at about 24 points out of 30. Not because of delivery. Your delivery is perfect, but because of some problems with topic development. All right, Colin? Okay, now YouTubers, I'm going to go ahead and email him these comments. Let's go back here, go back to video. There we go. So let me send him a quick message. So that was integrated speaking practice test number 1. So did you guys notice at YouTube that when you are explaining somebody else's ideas, you want to make sure that you include those voice markers? The reading passage claims, the listening passage argues, the speaker also says, the author in the passage finally claims. So make sure that you put those voice markers throughout your integrated writing and integrated speaking. Why? Because you want to mark it as a summary. That's why. And I think he did a pretty good job with that overall, but like I said, he didn't have a complete response, I think, to the question, and he could do a little bit better job, I think, organizing his information. Okay, we're done with that. Let me send him a quick message. Okay, let's take a look at, we got some comments from Murat. Mahaba, how are you today, buddy? You say, hi, Professor, I am Murat from Turkey. Happy New Year. Could you please give me some suggestions for the listening part? My score was 19 for the listening part of the test. Yes. To give you some listening suggestions, I think there's probably a few things that you want to do, but probably one of the most important things, it's your notes. It's note-taking, honestly. Because these TOEFL lectures can be 4 and 5 minutes long. That means they're up to anywhere from 4 to maybe 600 words. So you need to get used to the listening. You need to understand how the points are delivered in the lectures, and you need to get those down in note form. So probably one of the best things you can do is, as you're doing your practice, right, work on getting down the main and the most important support points of those lectures, and kind of go from there. And let me see if I have one more thing I can try to help you with here. Give me a quick second. Okay, so let's look at your, I'm going to look over your question one more time here. Let's go into I'm going to give you some general tips here in just a minute here. Give me a quick second. Okay, so I'm looking at ETS right now, right? So let's take a look at their website, and I will give you some suggestions which I think will be helpful for you. Okay, let's go over here. I'll show you a couple of things right now. Then you have to determine which of these things you think will work best for you. So here is some advice. If you look at this, this is some advice to help you improve your listening to a high level, which means so that you can score 22 to 30 points. This will give you some good ideas on things that you can do. Okay, so it says here, visit places in your community where you can hear spoken English, obviously. So if you go to an English school or a museum, you can go on a tour. You can call, visit hotels. You can listen to information in English, such as a movie schedule, weather report. That's going to be helpful for your listening. The next one, watch or listen to programs recorded in English. For example, CNN, the Discovery Channel, or National Geographic. You can check out, watch movies, soap operas, or situation comedies, rent videos, or go to movies in English, listen to a book or tape, listen to music in English, and check your accuracy by finding the lyrics on the internet. That's a good one. I had somebody who did that a while back, Murat, and they're able to really improve their listening there. Go to internet sites to practice listening. So National Public Radio is a good one, CBS News, and if you want to check your comprehension, you can go to Randall's Cyber Listening Lab. This is an excellent website, esl-lab.com, to help you with your listening. And then also bbcworldservice.com is also good. The next one, practice speaking English with others. So obviously the more that you speak English, the more that you will listen to it, and the better you will become there. So that's useful here in terms of improving listening, is by using resources to help you practice listening. Now, number 2 is begin to prepare for academic situations. So visit academic classes, cultural centers, or museums where you're invited to talk in English about their work, where people are invited to. So it says before you listen to a lecture, read assigned chapters or background information on the topics. Visit lectures on a wide variety of topics. I think this is good. Record lectures or presentations. Replay them several times. I think that will be very useful for you. It says stop the recording in the middle, predict what will come next, practice listening to longer lectures. And for academic purposes, if you need a website, the listening part of my course has 40 practice tests, listening practice tests that you can use. So become familiar with the organization or structure of lectures. So this is important, Murat, because it helps you with your note-taking. This is why they're telling you this. Pay attention to the structure. So the lecture presentation typically has an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. If it's a narrative, it'll have a beginning, middle, and end. So learn to recognize different styles of organization. So sometimes lectures, they talk about theories with evidence. They might have cause-effect, steps of a process. They may be comparing two things. So if you can understand how it's organized, it's easier for you to take notes on those ideas. Here's more tips. Think carefully about the purpose of a lecture. Here's a good question. What is the professor trying to accomplish? Write down only the information that you hear. Be careful not to interpret information based on your personal understanding or knowledge, right? You see what I'm saying? What the TOEFL is saying here is you should only answer questions based on the information that you're listening to, not on what you think you know about the topic. That's why it says this. Answer questions based on what was actually discussed in the lecture. Develop a note-taking strategy to help you organize information into a hierarchy of main points and supporting details. Make sure your notes follow the organization. Listen for related ideas and relationships within a lecture. Make sure you summarize similar information together. Use your notes to write a summary. And this is good. Now, I'm going to give you another tip right here, Murat, is I think here, Murat, and I'll answer Shrikant's question, so I prefer the Cambridge book for practice. Yes, that's a great book. Use that book. That's a good book for reading purposes. If you look at that book, I think it's called The Cambridge Preparation for the TOEFL Exam by Jolene and Robert Gere. Shrikant, that's the name of that one. Okay, so let's go back to Murat's questions here. And what I'm saying is as you're doing your listening practice, you can write a summary or you can give a summary of the information. And now you're practicing your integrated speaking and integrated writing, which is even better. And note-taking really is the key. 3, listen for signals that will help you understand the organization of a talk, connections between ideas, and the importance of ideas. Listen for expressions and vocabulary that tell you the type of information being given. So think carefully about the type of information that these phrases show. For example, if the person's giving opinion, they say, I think, it appears that, it is thought that. If they're talking about theory, they might say in theory. If they're doing inference, they might say therefore, then. Negatives, not words that begin with un, non, or dis. Fillers, conversation fillers typically focus on non-essential information. Identify digressions, which means when the discussion goes to a different topic from the main topic. You can listen for signal words and phrases that connect ideas. You can think carefully about the connection between ideas that these words show. Reasons, because, results, examples, comparisons, opposing ideas, similar ideas, restatements, and conclusions. Right? So pay attention to intonation and other ways that speakers indicate that information is important. Listen for emotions expressed through changes. Pay attention to facial expressions or word choices that indicate excitement, anger, happiness, and frustration. So you can look more at this here, and I'm going to put this link here that I used. Let me put this under the chat area so you can see this from Murat. So I will put, this is the link. On how to improve your listening, right? So I'll put it right there for you so you can read it later on. So the main thing is the more that you're practicing listening, the better it will be for you. And every time you're doing your listening practice, Murat, you want to make sure that you're practicing note-taking. And guess what's going to happen after a few months, or maybe a month or two, your notes will become more and more complete and you will be better. Okay, Murat says, the materials we have to use while studying should be lectures. No, not necessarily. I'm going to say not necessarily. You can use lectures, but you can also watch TV shows, you can watch movies, you can talk to native speakers. Any type of listening practice, in the sense that you're getting listening in the brain, is going to be very, very helpful for you. All right, so let's go back to video. So remember, Murat, your goal is to get more listening practice, and your ultimate goal is to make sure that you can get notes on the main and the most important supporting points of those listening passages. And even yet, you should be able to speak and write about that information using your notes. That way, you're not just focusing on the listening section of the test, but you're also focusing on the writing and the speaking area as well. So that note-taking, if you can really get the note-taking better and improve that area, you'll definitely make some very big improvements, I think, with your listening TOEFL preparation. All right there, Murat, so thank you for your question. Okay, I think we're good. And let's move on. Murat, you say I could not get the main ideas in my last trial. So the main thing there is you need some more general listening practice then, because probably, I'm guessing, you're also having some vocabulary issues, right? Because you don't understand the meaning of some of the words that you're hearing. Therefore, it's hard for you to get the purpose of the listening passage if you don't understand the words. So I think in addition to doing the listening practice, you probably also need to improve your vocabulary. That would be another thing that you might want to consider. But you know, Murat, that the main point in a listening passage is typically explained in the beginning. Am I right? Now be careful for TOEFL though. Sometimes on the TOEFL lectures they have what's called a transition. It might say something like this: in addition to hurricanes, tornadoes can also have a very powerful impact on cities in the United States in terms of damage, right? So then if it says, well, what was the previous topic? The previous topic was hurricanes. The new topic is tornadoes. So make sure when you listen to the beginning of that lecture that you can separate, if they're referring to something that was previously mentioned, that's a transition idea. That's not the main point. And the main point typically, Murad, is stated in the independent clause part of the sentence. So that's something that you should consider. Does that make sense? All right, let's keep going here. Okay, I'm going to some more speaking practice for just a minute. All right, Murad, I see. If you have any more questions, let me know. Now, as you guys are thinking up questions to ask, I'm also going to do some grading at the same time because I need to grade these practice tests. But what I will do is, I promise, after every practice test, I will come back to the chat and I will double check to see if you guys have any questions. Okay, the next one is from my student, Raphael. Okay, he did independent speaking practice test number 235. So let me talk to him and I will be right back in a minute. Yeah, hi there. These comments are for Raphael, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for the 7-step system to pass a TOEFL IBT, and have a happy new year to you. And you got to promise me, Raphael, I got a feeling when you take the TOEFL, I have a feeling you'll probably score over 100. So let me know. Please tell me what your score is after you take the test. All right, so you're answering independent speaking practice test number 235. So the question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of being in a large lecture hall with 100 students for a required class? Use specific details and examples in your response. All right, so let's hear how you answered this question.
Being in a large lecture hall with 100 students has advantages and disadvantages. Its main disadvantage is that I'm not going to be able to ask too many questions to the speaker because there are going to be a lot of the students in the same situations who would like to do the same. Thus, I'm going to have few chances to have a response from the speaker. On the contrary, since these halls are exclusive for grad speakers, probably I will attend a grad lecture from a famous speaker, thus I could take advantage of that.
Okay, so I think here's my overall assessment. I'm going to read it, I'm going to listen to it one more time, but you did a really good job in the beginning. Your structure was good. You talked about the disadvantage first, but when you moved to your second point, you should have said the advantage is. So the disadvantage is this, the advantage is that. If you had said that, it would have given your structure a little bit better organization. Now here's the other problem. You spent too much time talking about the disadvantage, and you didn't give yourself enough time to talk about the advantage. So that's also a slight problem, right? But you started off with a very good organization. Listen to it one more time.
Being in a large lecture hall with 100 students has advantages and disadvantages.
So you can't get better than that. So what you did is you restated the question, and I like how you said being in a large lecture hall has both advantages and disadvantages. But if you want to start with disadvantages, say disadvantages and advantages, and then move to your first point.
Its main disadvantage is that I'm not going to be able to ask too many questions to the speaker because there are going to be a lot of the students in the same situations who would like to do the same. Thus,
that's probably when you should have stopped right there, because you need to give yourself more time to talk about the advantage, right? But I like your use of the word thus. Thus is a good word because you're trying to show your cause-effect relationship. So your use of that particular transition word is an effective thing, but the problem is you're not giving yourself enough time to focus on the second part of the question.
You have few chances to have a response from the speaker. On the contrary, since
I would just, instead of on the contrary, just say the disadvantage is
these halls are exclusive for grad speakers. Probably I will attend a grad lecture from a famous speaker, thus I could take advantage of that.
This is kind of where you went off the cliff, so you didn't have enough time to develop the second part of it, but you did a really good job on the first part of it. So I think for the first 21, 22 seconds of your response, you were perfect, a 4 out of 4. And then as you got from 22 to maybe 40, 45 seconds, that's when you had a little bit of trouble with your response, right? Okay, so now let's take a look at your score here. Give me a quick second. So I think on a scale of 1 to 4, 4 being perfect, I'm going to kind of put you in the middle. I still think it's a very good response on your part, but it might be hard to get a perfect score. I'm going to put you at about 24 to 26 points out of 30 on this, 3.1 to 3.3 out of 4. All right? Okay, now I'm going to send these comments to Raphael. December 31st. Got it right here. He's got that one. I'm going to send him a quick email so he has those comments. And I'm going to go check your questions in just a minute, see if anybody else has any other questions over at YouTube. Okay, we're good here. Okay, good question. We have another question from Shrikant here. Let's take a look at this one. It says, do we need to be familiar on the subject topics such as biology, anthropology, economics, rocks, mountains for the listening section? I got most of those topics on the listening section of the official TOEFL exam. It's not necessary. I think if you've practiced listening to such topics, it's good, but it's not necessary because when you do the listening part of the test, all the information you need to answer any of those listening comprehension questions, you will get in that lecture. So you don't really have to have any outside knowledge there. So I think it's not necessary that you're familiar with these topics, but it will probably be helpful, at least in the sense that you'll be more familiar with the kind of conceptually dense vocabulary that you see on those kinds of topics. So that's my answer to that question. Okay, I'm going through my email one more time here. Yeah, somebody at Facebook just wished me a happy holiday, and I will say the same to them. It's called reciprocating. Somebody do something nice to you, do something nice to them. Okay, so we got that. Okay, let me go back. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, we have speaking. KC. KC, I think, did independent speaking practice test number 3. So let's listen to this one. Let's see how he did here.
If I die,
Okay, here's his question. Let's take a look, make sure we know what he's actually answering here. Alright, so the question is, upon your death, what valuable object or possession would you consider giving to a friend or family member? Why would you want your friend or family member to inherit this object? And give me a quick second. I gotta take my sweater. I'm getting a little bit hot here. Give me a second. It's getting too hot in here. I got my fireplace going on over here, so that feels better. Okay, so what object or possession would you give to a friend or family member upon your death, and why would you want this person to inherit the object? That is the question, right? Now, I'm going to go ahead and start a recording and talk directly to KC. Yeah, hi there. These comments are for KC, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. I'm going to listen to your independent speaking practice test number 3. Here we go.
if I die, I want to send my card to my son. This is because I want to provide convenience for him because he has to go to the school and he has to study after I die, and I really want to make a better circumstance for him to...
I want to make better circumstances, or I want to make a better circumstance for him. You had a little bit of trouble pronouncing that.
Focus on his study more. And secondly, my house, I want to give that to my wife because I...
No, you can't do 2 here. You kidding me? No, what object? So focus on either the car or the house, but not both. Remember that you're trying to show that you can develop a topic with details. If you talk about too many different things, KC, you're not going to have enough time to give those specific details.
I believe that this is the most valuable possession that I have, and I want to give the most expensive one to my wife because she is the most important person in my life, and I want to share the valuable part with her.
Okay, so what I would recommend here is either focus on your son or your wife, but not both, and then talk about why you want to give that object to that particular person. So that would help you improve your topic development. right? So that is my main suggestion for you. Okay, give me a quick second here, and I'm going to give you a score right now too. Okay, I think overall though you did a pretty good job in delivering, not too much trouble there. You're very clear, I think, in your speech. You had pretty good control of your language use. Topic development though, you needed to focus on one or the other but not both, so that's a weakness in that area. Still, I'm going to give you 3.0 out of 4, 23 points out of 30 on this particular practice test. All right, KC? Thank you. And that's a good example of limiting your focus. When you're doing speaking for TOEFL, try not to talk about too many different things and make sure what you do talk about, you give specific details. In this case, the question's asking him to discuss an object he'd like to give to a friend or family member. It doesn't say what objects would you like to give to your friends or family members. It says object singular. That's why I told him it's better for him to talk about either a son or his wife, but not both. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and email KC the comments that you guys just heard at YouTube. So let's do this. So KC is here. Email that. I go back to okay, I'm going to check my email, see how we're doing here. Okay, I have a grammar question here I'm going to answer, so maybe some of you guys at YouTube may also have this grammar question, so let's take a look. Okay, let me talk to this guy. I'm going to send him some comments too. Hi there, these comments are for Raphael, and you had a grammar question. I'm actually answering this in my live video today for December 31st. So if you want to go into the video, go to about 45 minutes of the video and you will see my answer to your grammar question. Now I'm also recording my comments right now, giving them to you too, but it might be better if you watch it by video. Okay, so here is your question. Let's see what it is. Let me bring it up here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so everybody can see it. So you see, hi Professor, here's my writing task to be graded. Yes, and I will send this over to my teaching assistant. You say, additionally, I have a grammar question. When I use a transition word, however, and your question is, can I use it after a period? For example, hence, this problem could have different points of view, period. However, I consider that it is not a good idea that teenagers have jobs while they're teenagers because they could drop out, you want to say drop out of, they could drop out of school, and also they could be objects of labor abuses? The answer is yes. You have to look at the word however as a transition word, right? So it typically introduces, I think, the first point of an independent clause, or the main idea of an independent clause, right? So you have one other choice here. You could also use the semicolon and then small caps. So that's another possibility. So when you're using however, you have two choices: either use a period or a semicolon after that particular transition word. So you have to look at however as being different from although. Although is a subordinating conjunction. It's quite common sometimes to use although I'm tired right now, comma, I'm still going to exercise. With although, it's common to use commas after that introductory dependent clause, right? But however doesn't fit into that grammatical category. So yes, you can use a comma, or you can put a semicolon before that word. Now what you don't want to do is do not put a comma. Do not use a comma to separate however from another sentence. That results in what's called a comma splice. Okay? So that is my answer to your question there. Okay, so now I'm going to send him these comments. Let me go ahead and send him a quick email here. Okay, so we're good there. And then I'm going to forward his message over to my teaching assistant, who will read and score his writing practice test. Okay, so let's move ahead. So we're done with that. And I think I have one more question. It looks like okay, I'll answer this one later on. Now here's one. I better not answer that one. That's too complicated right now. Let's go to speaking. Okay, so we have another practice test. This is a practice test submitted by one of my online TOEFL course students. His name is Luis. And he's answering independent speaking practice test number 9. That's the one that he's answering right now. So let's take a look at what this one is first. Okay, let's take a look at what this question is. So he's answering question number 9 here. It says, what time do you prefer to take classes, in the morning, afternoon, or the evening? So with this type of question, one of the main things is don't talk about all of them. Talk about which one you prefer. Think about it. You have 45 seconds here. You can't discuss the advantages and disadvantages of all 3 time frames. You need to focus on one, right? Or you will never be able to give enough details to support your ideas, right? So think about that. Well, let's go back to video. All right, I'm going to go ahead and download his response and let's listen to it. And as I do, I'm going to start a recording for him specifically, so let me talk to Luis directly here. Hi there, Luis. This is Michael. I am the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-Step System to Pass the TOEFL IBT. Have a happy new year 2017 to you, my friend, and keep up the good work. You're doing your speaking practice almost every day, and that's exactly what you need to do if you want to get that score 26. So thank you for your hard work, and let's get started. So let's see which one you prefer and why, right? Okay, here we go. Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing this one for some reason. I don't know why. Let me try something here. So speaking practice. Yeah, it's just not loud enough. And I'm sure that my computer is. It's up all the way. So what you need to do is, Luis, you need to adjust your recording settings and make them higher so it's easier for me to listen to what you're saying. But let me try right now. Yeah, it's tough. It's hard for me to listen to this. So I'm going to say re-record this. Make sure your recording is louder. So I can't really give you an accurate score because it's just not loud enough for me to listen to. All right, Luis? I apologize. Okay, I'm going to send him my comments. And this is important for TOEFL speaking. You guys at YouTube, make sure you speak clearly and directly into your microphone on the day of the test. The last thing that you want is the problem that you just saw here, where the person's not speaking loud enough into the microphone or the settings were not correctly configured. So the IBT human raters, they need to be able to hear you because they need to evaluate not just your grammar and vocabulary and topic development, but they also want to pay attention to your delivery, which is also part of your score. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and send him my comments. Okay, he gets my comments right now. Then we move ahead. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. So I think I'm done with this particular video today. So during the video, I've answered a lot of your questions here at YouTube, and I have graded some independent and integrated speaking practice tests submitted from all of my online students. So I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year 2017.